Welcome back to Two Tricks, One Treat, where the line between reality and the unknown is never quite clear. Tonight we journey through the eerie silence of late-night drives. Imagine driving down a fog-covered road and encountering an ancient statue that seems to move when you're not looking, or racing through a forest with shadowy figures on your tail, or perhaps picking up a hitchhiker who vanishes right inside your car. In this episode, we present 3 spine-chilling encounters from the road, but remember, only one of these tales is rooted in truth, while the other 2 are products of imagination. Can you discern the real from the unreal? Stay with us till the end to find out which story truly defies explanation. If you're joining us for the first time or have been with us on every mysterious journey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and check out our other social media links in the description below. Now let's begin. Story 1, The Road Less Traveled. Late one autumn evening, Daniel, a young journalist, was driving back from an unexpected assignment. He had been sent to cover a breaking story in a remote town in Vermont. A century-old time capsule had been discovered in the town's historic church, and its contents were being revealed at a special midnight ceremony. Eager to get his story written and submitted before the morning deadline, Daniel was in a hurry to return to the city. His GPS suggested a shortcut through Maple Hollow, a route he wasn't familiar with but seemed quicker. Trusting the device, he turned onto the narrow, unpaved road. As he ventured deeper into the forest, a thick fog began to envelop his car. The once clear night transformed into a haze of white, making the road barely visible. The trees on either side seemed to close in, their silhouettes looming ominously. Suddenly his headlights caught a large, ancient-looking stone statue in the middle of the road. It depicted a cloaked figure, its face obscured, pointing towards a path that veered off the main road. Intrigued, Daniel slowed down, considering whether to follow the indicated direction. He decided to step out of his car for a closer look. The statue, bathed in the glow of his headlights, seemed eerily lifelike. Curiosity piqued, he followed the direction in which the statue was pointing. A narrow, overgrown trail led deeper into the woods, the fog growing denser with each step. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, and a chill ran down his spine. Squinting down the path, he decided it was best to return to his car. But as he turned back, he noticed the statue seemed different. Its face, initially obscured, now appeared to be contorted in a silent scream. Its pointing hand seemed to inch closer to him, the fingers elongated and menacing. Panicking, Daniel rushed back to his car. He fumbled with his keys, dropping them in his haste. As he bent to pick them up, he dared a glance at the statue. It had moved closer. Heart racing, he inserted the key into the ignition, but the engine refused to turn over. Each time he looked down at the dashboard and then back up, the statue was closer, its stone fingers reaching out as if to grab him. Desperation gripped him. On the 3rd try, the car roared to life. As he sped away, a glance in the rearview mirror revealed the statue, no longer stationary but moving, its stone form impossibly animated, chasing after him. The fog seemed to part for the statue, allowing it to gain on him. Heart pounding, Daniel pushed the accelerator to the floor, the car's engine screaming in protest. The road ahead began to clear as the fog lifted, but the statue continued its relentless pursuit. Just when it seemed the statue would reach him, the silhouette of a bridge appeared ahead. As he crossed over, he dared another look back. The statue halted at the edge, its form slowly receding into the fog. By the time he reached the main road, the chilling events of the night felt like a distant nightmare, but the fear lingered, a haunting reminder of the mysteries that lurk on the road less traveled. Story 2, The Chase of Forest's Edge. It was a dare that brought Jake, Mia, Lucas, and Elise to the ancient cemetery deep within the forest's edge. Legends spoke of restless spirits and eerie apparitions, making it a popular spot for thrill seekers. The 4 friends, armed with flashlights and a thirst for adventure, had hoped to catch a glimpse of the supernatural. The cemetery, hidden beneath a canopy of twisted trees, was a sight to behold. Moss-covered gravestones, some dating back centuries, lay scattered amidst overgrown grass. The air was thick with silence, broken only by the distant hoot of an owl. Hours passed, and despite their best efforts, the supernatural eluded them. No ghostly figures, no mysterious mists, nothing. Disappointed, they began their trek back to their open-doored Jeep. On a whim and partly out of frustration, Lucas gave a particularly wobbly gravestone a kick. It toppled over, breaking in half. Mia scolded him, but Lucas just laughed it off.
"If ghosts were real, we would have seen one in the hours we've been here,"
he retorted. As they drove away, the atmosphere changed. The once calm forest now felt alive and hostile. The trees seemed to close in on them, their shadows dancing menacingly in the Jeep's headlights. A cold wind picked up, sending chills down their spines. Suddenly, from the rear-view mirror, Jake spotted a dark, swift-moving figure. It darted between the trees, its pace unnaturally fast. Panic set in. Mia, gripping the wheel, floored the accelerator. The Jeep roared to life, gravel flying as they sped down the forest trail. The entity was relentless. It seemed to glide, always just at the edge of their vision, but its presence was unmistakably felt. The wind grew colder, and an otherworldly howl echoed through the trees. Elise, looking back, swore she saw multiple glowing eyes amidst the trees, tracking their every move. The forest trail seemed endless. Every turn they took, every path they chose, the entity was right behind them. Desperation set in. Lucas, trying to ward off their pursuer, began to shout apologies, hoping to appease whatever they had angered. The bumpy dirt road, combined with Mia's frantic driving, made for a treacherous escape. As they rounded a particularly sharp bend, the Jeep lurched violently. Lucas, who had been leaning out slightly, lost his grip and was thrown from the vehicle. The Jeep skidded to a halt. As the group in the car yelled Lucas's name, Jake immediately jumped out, rushing to Lucas's side. He was dazed but alive. Elise, spotting the shadowy figure rapidly closing in on Jake and Lucas, began to scream in panic, urging them to hurry.
"Get in the car, now!"
she yelled. Mia, thinking quickly, blasted the Jeep's horn repeatedly, the loud noise echoing through the forest. The entity, disoriented by the sudden cacophony, hesitated. Jake and Lucas scrambled back into the Jeep, and with a roar of the engine, they sped off. As they finally broke free from the forest's edge, a deafening roar that seemed to shake the very ground erupted behind them, rattling the Jeep. They didn't stop driving until they reached the safety of their town. The events of that night became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the dangers of the forest's edge. The four friends never spoke of it again, but the haunting memories of their chase and Lucas's near miss would stay with them forever. Story 3. The Phantom Hitchhiker. Tom Mitchell was a 25-year-old jazz musician known for playing the saxophone at a local club in downtown Chicago. On this particular night, he had just finished a late set with his band and was driving home, exhausted but content. The streets were nearly empty, with only the dim glow of streetlights illuminating his path. Tom's old Chevy rumbled along Archer Avenue, the radio softly playing a tune, the window slightly ajar, letting in the crisp night air. As he approached a particularly desolate stretch near the cemetery, his headlights caught a figure standing by the roadside. It was a young woman, her white dress almost glowing in the darkness. Her golden blonde hair cascaded down her back, and she seemed out of place, especially at this late hour. Intrigued, Tom slowed down. As he got closer, he noticed her blue eyes, which seemed filled with sadness. She looked cold, her arms wrapped around herself, and her dress, though beautiful, was not suited for the chilly night. Pulling over, Tom rolled down his window.
"Hey, are you okay? It's pretty late to be out here,"
he said, concern evident in his voice. She looked up, her eyes meeting his.
I need to get home,"
she replied softly, her voice almost a whisper. Tom, sensing her distress and feeling a protective urge, opened the passenger door.
"Come on in. I can give you a lift."
She hesitated for a moment, then nodded, climbing into the car. As they drove, Tom tried to engage her in conversation.
"I'm Tom,"
he began.
"I was playing at a club downtown. What brings you out here so late?"
She looked over, offering a faint smile.
"I'm Mary. I was at a dance. But they didn't go well."
Tom sensed there was more to the story, but didn't press. Instead, he focused on the road, occasionally stealing glances at his mysterious passenger. Mary seemed lost in thought, her gaze fixed on the passing scenery. As they neared the cemetery, Mary's demeanor changed. She became more agitated, her fingers fidgeting in her lap. Suddenly, she asked Tom to stop the car. Pointing towards the cemetery, her voice trembling, she said,
I have to go now. My home is there.
Confused, Tom began to ask what she meant, but before he could get the words out, she vanished, leaving behind only the cold imprint of where she sat. Stunned, Tom sat in his car for what felt like an eternity, trying to process what had just happened. The radio's soft tune now felt eerie, and the once comforting night air was now chilling. He replayed the events in his mind, trying to find a logical explanation, but none came. With a heavy heart and a mind filled with questions, Tom decided to seek answers. He remembered a house he had passed a few minutes back. Maybe someone there had seen Mary or could shed some light on the situation. Driving back, he pulled up to a quaint, old-fashioned house with a white picket fence. The lights were on, suggesting someone was awake. Taking a deep breath, he knocked on the door. After a few moments, it was opened by an elderly woman, her silver hair tied in a neat bun, her eyes kind but filled with curiosity.
Can I help you, young man?
She asked. Tom hesitated for a moment, wondering how to explain the bizarre events.
I picked up a young woman named Mary on Archer Avenue. She was in a white dress, blonde. She vanished in my car near the cemetery.
He finally blurted out, his voice shaky. The elderly woman's face turned pale, her eyes widening in recognition. She beckoned Tom inside and led him to a living room filled with old photographs. Pointing to one, she asked,
Is this the girl you saw?
Tom looked at the photograph. It was Mary, looking just as he had seen her, her blue eyes staring back at him. He nodded, his throat dry. The woman sighed, her voice filled with sadness.
That's my Mary. She died many years ago in a tragic accident near the cemetery. Every now and then, kind souls like you report seeing her, trying to find her way home.
Tom, still reeling from the revelation, listened as the woman recounted the tale of her daughter's untimely death and the legend that had since grown around her. As dawn approached, he thanked the woman for her time and left, the haunting image of Mary forever etched in his memory. Thank you for joining us on this nocturnal journey through tales of eerie encounters and mysterious passengers. Now, it's time to unveil the truth. Was it the ancient statue on the fog-covered road, the shadowy figures in the forest's edge, or the Phantom Hitchhiker on Archer Avenue that holds the grains of truth? The genuine tale from tonight's stories is the haunting encounter with Mary, the Phantom Hitchhiker. The legend of Resurrection Mary is one of Chicago's most famous ghost stories. Mary's tale begins in the 1930s. She was a young woman full of life who loved to dance. On a fateful evening after a night out at the O. Henry Ballroom, she and her boyfriend got into an argument. Upset, Mary decided to walk home alone. Tragically, she was struck and killed by a hit-and-run driver on Archer Avenue, near Resurrection Cemetery, where she was later buried. Since her untimely death, numerous drivers have reported picking up a young woman in a white dress along Archer Avenue, only for her to vanish as they approach the cemetery. These accounts often describe her in striking detail, from her golden blonde hair to her blue eyes filled with sadness. Some have even claimed to have danced with her at a local ballroom only for her to disappear into the night. Over the years, the legend has grown, with many speculating about Mary's identity. Some believe she is the restless spirit of Anna Maria Norcus, who died in a car accident in the 1920s, while others suggest she might be Mary Bregovy, who met a similar fate in 1934. Regardless of her true identity, the story of Resurrection Mary serves as a poignant reminder of a life cut short and the mysteries that linger on desolate roads in the dead of night. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the unknown. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that like button and share it with fellow mystery seekers. And remember, in every trio of tales at 2 tricks, 1 treat. 2 will deceive, but 1 always speaks the truth. Until next time, keep questioning, keep wondering, and always stay curious.